Every pro mixer wants tracks or stems sent that look like this. Maybe not like that. Probably something that looks like this. And then you open it up and, oh, look at that. And what is this? How beautiful is that? Let me explain. And then I'm going to show you how both as an engineer or client, you can manage this and what this looks like for me once my assistant sets up my session. First thing, when you get a stem, when I get stems, or tracks, I'm not going to get into the vernacular of it. I'm not. Do your thing in the comment if you want to bitch and moan about it, but I'm not that person. The first thing is you want the reference. You want the production mix. What has the artist been listening to? If you're the client, you want to be able to show the engineer, what have I been listening to? Okay, so that's how I label it here. I label it 00 because whenever it enters a library in my DAW or it's in files, it just sits at the very top rather than having to look through the files for final mix _1.2.3 version 4 revision 10 00 production mix and the date. That's number one. Next, I have these folders. Well, do you just get the files and then drag them into the folders? No. Okay, let me explain. Let's open up the instruments, because I think this is probably going to be the easiest to explain. So if I open up the instruments, I have some of these labeled with a G. And what does G mean? G means group, okay? So because these are going through sub buses, which have production processing and effects and filters on it, I want the instrumental group, okay, as part of the stem, a stem as part of for mixing. Then I want the track outs of everything feeding that group, okay? But then within that group, there are a few other groups like the guitar group, G, guitar group. And then I want the tracks for them. So basically what I'm requesting is this production stems, and then in subfolders, the production tracks. So we've got G guitar, which is lowercase g, which means group, the guitars. And then here I've got guitar 1, guitar 1-1, guitar 1, whatever. I don't get them to rename the stems themselves because I like to be able to reference something if they have to go back to their production session. So that usually stays the same. But the idea is you have the large group stem, then any folders in it, and then or any subgroups as groups, and then within there the tracks. And that's how that whole structure lays out. So that way, when I drop it into my session, I can either choose to use the stem or the tracks. Okay, I'm not getting into the vernacular again. I'm not going to bitch and moan about it. You're probably wondering, are effects on? Effects are on everything. So whichever stage the producer has chosen to put effects, if they've chosen to put effects on the group stage of the guitars, it'll stay on there and it won't be on the tracks. Okay, does that make sense? So that way I've got a group stem with it all and then the tracks individually. Now, what does this look like in a session? Now, I deleted the naming convention on here for the sake of this video, but if I go over to the session I've set up, I can't play this back, it's not finished. You can actually see I've put notes for my assistant on the files, which ones I want made active. So for the drums, I have the tracks active. For the bass, I have the tracks active. What did I use groups for? I use, the guitar group I wanted. So I said ignore the tracks because there's so much processing and effects on this group. It's better to just use the group stem. What the group vocal there, I did an initial mix from because the artist signed off on the vocal sound of the production. So I thought I'd mix from the vocal stem, not the track. And they're like, hey, Nick, can you do your thing on the individual tracks? Because I just want to see if we can get a cleaner sound. So in the second version of this mix, what I've actually done is I've went back and pulled in the tracks into here, which is simple, easy. I have them all here already organized. If I go into my vocal here, got BVs, lead vocal, chorus, dry. I've got the dry ones here for the chorus and the verse. It was just a matter of bringing them into the session and remixing just the vocals from there because I love the instrumental, which is good. This is important. This is how we want to receive stems. I don't care if your mixer says, I don't want to have anything wet. I just want the dry tracks, remove all your effects. You are in for a nightmare. I don't care. Oh, maybe for some styles it's a bit different, like rock music and metal music. But for pop, R&B, hip-hop, electronic music, where the producer is faux mixing in the process and the artist signs off on the creative sound the producer gives, you want to wet. You want to have access to the stems as well as the tracks. And I sort of pull this from the philosophy of Irko. Irko, the mixing engineer who did the Donda album, Irko with the bow tie. He said to me he likes mixing. He likes to think of mixing as like a relay race where you pass the baton. Like the producer takes it the first length, he receives the stems for mixing, and he takes it the next length. He elevates what's there. He's not rebuilding it, he's elevating. So this is exactly what you want to send your mixing engineer, okay? And if you're a mixing engineer, this is what you should be requesting. Go, hey, I want the stems, I want the tracks. Here's how, like, this is a method to it. So it's like, start from the top. So you got your production mix here, okay? Then go to the group. So, you know, your big buses. So the group bus, I want the stem. Then I want the tracks that feed that stem, okay? In a separate folder. See there? Simple. Now, if they're going to send you this is just a lot of time and effort. That's just, these are 0-byte files, okay? So they're not really, somebody sent me this, that would be crazy. They would know better, they'd try better. But people have experienced, not me in recent times, getting these sort of stems sent, and it just causes a headache. It doesn't make the mixing process pleasant. And then same thing when is it all wet? Is it all dry? This, that, the other, back and forth. This is the way to set it up, okay? Hope you enjoyed that ramble. I hope you learned something from this in terms of just even the simple naming convention, the lower G. Simple. Lower G means group. And then the rest. Oh, that's something I didn't say. I'm going to cut this, bring this in. Also, notice the first word of every file name is the instrument group. So effects start with effects. Bass start with bass. Background vocals start with BV. Lead vocals start with LV. And the reason for this is when I drop it into my session, if I get my file editor up here, where are you, file editor? Open up. Why is it not opening? Come on, Pro Tools, don't you be a dog now. There we are. You can see all the file names here. I'll just drag this across. You can see all the file names here, all in alphabetical order. So if I need to go to my drums, I can just go to D and I've got all my drum stems there. If I want to go background vocals, I can go background vocals there. Super quick. Anyway, until next time, take care.